I am so excited. I finally have a composter. The Fcmp 37-gallon dual chamber tumbling composter. In this video, I will show you the assembly process, the one part that I struggled with. I will give you tips on how to properly compost and a few adjustments that I will make to this composter. I will also talk about the reviews of other people and what they had to say about this composter. This is not a sponsored video. I bought this composter myself because it had overall good reviews, a good price, and that it's made in Canada. The composter weighs about 28 pounds, and when it's fully assembled, it's 3 feet tall. All right, so let's open this box. This booklet explains the basics of composting. The company claims that in hot, sunny conditions, and with a proper balance of ingredients, the compost can finish in as little as 2 weeks. It needs to be corrected to 6 weeks minimum. This panel is going to be the last panel that needs to be installed. One side has a clock on it and the other side has a plus. Here we have the 7 body panels. There are 2 side panels and they have ventilation holes because compost needs to breathe. The panels also have these adjustable ventilation swivels. However, they are just so loose, they don't stay in place. This box contains all of the leg parts, axle bar, and nuts and bolts. And then finally, the separator piece. First, let's assemble the legs. As you see in the diagram, each leg is labeled DD or CC. This composter does not come with assembly tools, and you will need a 3/8 of an inch wrench and a flathead screwdriver. This is optional. If you want to extend this composter's life and prevent the legs from rusting at some point, you can spray the legs with Rust-Oleum. You also have the option to purchase the legs separately from Fcmp if you wish. For the leg assembly, use the 6 short bolts. Now let's assemble the other side. Insert the connectors. Notice the difference in the connections. Now tighten all the bolts. Now assemble the horizontal axle bar. Make sure to insert the plastic tube. Insert the side panel first. Insert the separator and lastly the other side panel. Now you can tighten both bolts. The one thing that I would change about the axle bar and the body panels of this composter is to have all crevices where spiders love to nest closed off. I will try to insert foam pieces on both ends to shut the entrances. On the body panels, I will probably wrap it in a mesh so that spiders don't build webs in the grooves. Alright, let's get to the most important step. You want to make sure that the side that we are going to insert the last panel, labeled C, with the sliding door, is upright. Here is the first panel that we are going to attach, and we are going counterclockwise. The curved side goes in just like so. Insert the bolts on one side and hand tighten for now. Make sure the disc in the middle would go into the groove of the panel. That was the only part that I struggled with. Once everything is aligned, put in the rest of the bolts and tighten. I tighten everything as I go. The second panel gets attached the same way. Make sure the 2 knobs snap in and the top of the panel is flush. Don't forget to set the dividing wall in the groove of the panel. Tighten all of the screws. Don't lose any of the bolts or nuts because the company does not provide any extras. Now let's do the rest of the panels. Let me tell you a little bit about why I chose to get this composter for my garden. I've been purchasing compost from the hardware store for years, and purchasing a composter was just out of the question because it was just too expensive and I couldn't justify the cost because 2 years ago, a 25-pound bag of organic compost with cow manure was only $2.67. That was the year where I expanded my garden by adding 2 4-foot by 4-foot raised beds. Now the same bag of compost is $3.97. Next year it will probably be over $5. Now the cost of the composter seems more like a good investment because in the summer months I can make up to 18.5 gallons of compost every 6 weeks. This tumbler is BPA free, UV inhibited, and it's made out of recycled, contact safe polypropylene. Some customer reviews are saying that they still have this composter 8 years later. To have a successful compost, you have to make sure that you have the correct greens to browns ratio and that the compost is moist but not soggy. You will need to put a tarp over this composter so that when it rains, the compost doesn't get wet. You have to control how much water it gets. Many people complained that they couldn't get the compost out because it was plastered against the panels and they had to scrape the compost off. That should not be the case. Compost should be nice and fluffy, moist but not soggy or wet. You will have to turn the composter 5 to 6 times every 2 to 3 days. The bad reviews on Amazon are from people that don't know how to properly compost. Make sure to watch this video next where I explain why you should not compost these 10 items. There is 13 inches of clearance under the composter and you would be able to easily get the compost out using a tarp or a low clearance bin. Many people also complained about how difficult it was to assemble this composter. I have to say, you need to have some dexterity in your fingers to put the nut onto the bolt. However, I didn't feel that it was difficult. I've assembled IKEA furniture many times and that was 100 times more difficult. If you follow these directions, you should not have any trouble assembling this composter. Now the last part of this assembly is the C panel. All you have to do is slide the panel under the lip of the body panel and it should fit like a glove. Make sure to push in the 2 knobs like so and check that every panel is flush. Remove the sliding door and put the rest of the bolts in and tighten. I have 1 extra nut left, so I have to double check everything. I wish the company would provide extra bolts and nuts just in case. Speaking of nuts, look at this nut. Do you want to go outside? All right, all finished. Let's give it a spin test. Very nice. What do you think of this composter? Let me know in the comments. Are you going to start composting this year? Well, I hope this video was helpful to you. If it was, give this video a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. I highly encourage you to start composting at home because it's such a great way to reduce waste and give back to your garden. Thank you for watching. Until next time, my gardening friends.